Hey, Queens and Kings, welcome back, or I should say, welcome me back. Thank you guys so much for clicking on the video. In today's video, I will be doing 6 Dollar Tree Spooky Glamorous DIYs, where I'll be using mostly Dollar Tree items, majority of Dollar Tree items, but if you all would like to see how I created each and every one of these items, please continue to watch. Alright, so for the very first DIY here, which is my Spiderwell Wreath, I'm using some old ribbon that I had. These little tinsel Chanels, I think they call something like that. Some skulls, this skull skeleton hand, and some ribbon, but which I would not be using that ribbon after all. And I'm going to be using this spider web here, as well as this wheel here. I actually purchased this from the Dollar Tree a while back, so this is a different wire wheel or wreath, you like to call it, whatever it is, but I'm basically going to use this to support the spider web here. Now what I'm going to do is remove the big spider off, but you want to keep that because you're going to need that later, and I'm just going to glue this to the wheel. Now to give it some more support, I'm going to use these tinsel scrolls or whatever they are called, but I'm using this to actually give me some more support to help it stay stronger, so therefore it doesn't fall off or anything, because you know with hot glue eventually over time it will fall apart. And then after I get that all down and secure how I want it to be, I'm actually going to move on to my ribbon. Now, the ribbon that I'm about to show you guys, this bow here, is basically, like I said, it's an old bow and ribbon, which all these ribbon actually did came from the Dollar Tree, and I created this big old bow. I used it probably a couple years ago, I believe, so I'm recycling a lot of things. And just to fill in some of the wreath, I'm just gonna actually use those little black tinsels again, because I do have one on the back of this, and secure it to the wreath. Okay, so now that I have that in place, I'm using this little Tom, the skeleton hand, that spider, as well as some more skeleton. I think I got these from Hobby Lobby last year. You see the mouth of the thing open up, but I'm going to use this metallic silver spray paint that is from Walmart to spray all of that. So now that it all sprayed all up, now we're going to go ahead and start to secure these items onto the wreath. Now this wreath is very simple. You could do it with just about probably any items that you do have home if you have something similar to these items. So with that skull, I'm just going to hot glue that to the middle of the bow, and then I'm going to actually glue the rest of the items onto the wreath as well. Now for the skeleton hand, I'm going to use that to basically hold up the wreath, or look like it holding the wreath, basically where I'm going to place it up on the door. And all I'm going to do is just use some hot glue to secure that down. Now you can use also those tinsel scrolls to actually give it more support if you feel like it's not going to stay up there. All right, Queens and Kings, so here's the final look, and I love the way that this turned out. Even though it was just a plain and simple, but just by putting a bow and using the skeleton pieces and parts, it just brought it up a different notch. And then the wire wreath that's behind it, the pop of silver popping through, it even brought it more to life. So I love the way how this turned out. What do you queens and kings think? Would you make this for yourself? Now, how I have it hanging up on there, I just basically use some command scripts and a Dollar Tree hook to support the hooks in the back right there where the hand is holding up at. And going farther up, I put another command script to give it more extra support. So it looked like the skeleton hands from the outside and holding the wreath up. So moving on to DIY number 2 here, we have our skeleton rose bed. And you guys know I have to do something with some flowers. So pretty much using this Dollar Tree container as well as this foam, round foam here, but they come in a 2-pack. I got some wire cutter and some flowers from Amazon and a old skeleton. Now, once again, I'm not going to use that ribbon. I thought I was going to use it, but I'm not. So I'm just going to take this container outside and I'm going to spray paint it black. Using some matte black spray paint, came from the Walmart, no more than 98 cents. So once all that is spray painted and everything, we're going to just start taking our flowers, using our wire cutter to cut them down to size and place those going all the way around the center of the bed. All right, so now that we're moving on, we got the final last flower, a rose, I should say. I'm going to use a candle holder for the center part there, that little open part, because this is where I want my skeleton head to be, like it's basically coming out of the bed of the flowers. But I'm going to use this candle holder to try to support it up, but it actually going to be a little too low. So it's like the skeleton is pretty much buried, even though it is buried, but it's basically it's bed at the same time. I do want most of the skeleton head to peek out, but it's covered as you all can see. So now I'm gonna have to get another kind of holder or something to rise it up a little bit taller, so therefore I can have the look that I'm going for. So now I found an old candle holder and basically this gave me the height and everything that I needed. So we're just gonna secure that down with some hot glue as well as glue the skeleton on top of it. All right, so that's all done. So here I'm going to take some black tulle, black tulle fabric or whatever you would like to call it. And I'm basically just going to stuff that around the edges to give me a more of a dramatic look. You know, it's black and then you got a little extra more details to, you know, just to bring a little bit more lively. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just going to cut that down to size and like I said, just stuff that around. And then afterwards, I'm just going to take some more spiders and things like that to place on top of the flowers and stuff to give it a little more spooky glam look, a little bit more sparkles, you know, little picks and everything that I purchased from Hobby Lobby, probably Dollar Tree as well, and things like that. Okay, so just to bring it up a little bit, I decided to use these little hands here that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. There was a pack of them, and basically this is how my skeleton rose bed look, and I love it. Just so gorgeous. I love how the skeleton look like it is forming or coming out of the roses. All right, queens and kings, so moving on to the next DIY here. Basically, I'm doing my speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. And this plaque here I had for a while. I'm just going to spray paint it black, this matte black that I got from Walmart once again. And I'm using these Dollar Tree galvanized word in here. I think it's spooky, beware, and hunted. So I was trying to figure out which one that I wanted to actually do, and I pretty much went with the hunted one. Now that I'm thinking back, I should have went with spooky, but that's okay. You could pick whatever one you want to pick or whatever wording that you desire. So at the time, I desired honey, so I thought it would go best with what I was trying to go for. So here I'm using some towel blocks from the Dollar Tree as well. I spray painted those black, but you see my mistake here? You see that little one hand came up in the picture there? He pretty much distracted me. So I end up gluing the towels on backwards, and which I'm going to change that, which you guys will see that later as I proceed with this DIY. Okay, so by gluing those on here, I basically want to give it like a 3D look, basically to stand out so it won't look so flush, because I wish I'd have put some lights in there now that I'm thinking about it as well. Now moving on to these ghosts here, these skeleton ghosts. I picked these up. I picked up 3 of them because these was much cheaper than me trying to buy some hands and buy the skeleton head. I found these are cheaper, but you see they have our wires on it, so all you gotta do is just pull back the little arms, the little plastic part here what I'm showing you guys, and you see that they have wire, and just pull the wire out, so therefore you can take apart the hands. You can do the same part for the head, but I was just rushing. I'm going to go in with a wire cutter and basically take the head part, the neck part off. And what I'm doing here first is starting off by removing the fabric, because at this point here I did not want to use the fabric. I just want to use the head and hands. So that's why I was taking everything apart and everything like that. And you see I'm using wire cutters to take off the zip tie that it did have the fabric and the neck tied together. So that part there just pretty much hold up the fabric. And you see the wire here, and I'm basically cutting it with some wire cutters. Now, you could have just basically pulled it all apart if you don't have wire cutters until you find a part where it connect to actually bend and pull it out, as you see I'm doing here. So now that I have all 3 in the hands, the set of hands and everything, I'm basically trying to put them with the ones that color coordinate together, that goes together. So I'm trying to form at this point here how I'm going to basically place these hands. Now, this is where I decided to go back and keep the fabric instead of throwing it away. So I'm putting the fabric back on to basically cover up some of the imperfection with the hands and everything. And I'm basically going to start off here with the Hear No Evil. We're going to do See No Evil and Speak No Evil. Now, you have to play around with this because these are not flexible. So you have to pretty much get it to the idea how you want it, and then place a little small amount of glue on it. So just in case that's not the secure area you would like for it to be. But I'm going to continue doing this with each one of the skulls. All right, so I did speak no evil offline, which it was a little bit harder to do because I had to hold it in place until it dried and everything. So, but anyways, here I'm going to cut off some of the excess of fabric that's hanging off from each one of the skeletons, and I'm basically going to place them on top of my plaque that I have here that I placed the hunted worded inside of. And this is where I thought that I should have done spooky instead of hunted, but it's still cute nevertheless. And for a DIY like this, or for a decor piece like this in Hobby Lobby or so, you guys tell me down below how much you think I would have paid for this. Altogether, I paid what, $5 to the most, or without using the plaque, $4 and some change. But without using the plaque and the spray paint, yes, I still came out cheaper, even with the plaque and the spray paint, because that spray paint was $1. This plaque was probably about $2 at the at-home store, and I done had it for years now. So, yes, you guys do the calculation. But anywho, let me start running my mouth. All I'm doing is just places a nice amount of hot glue on top of the plaque and setting the skulls up how I would like for them to actually be. And I think I started out with See No Evil, but the first one is Speak No Evil, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I think that's how I'm going to do it. All right, queens and keys, so here it is. Now, what I did do off camera was spray painting it silver, and I went and glued down some little buttons, which is adhesive buttons for the eyes, and that's it. So moving on to the next DIY. Now, I thought this was easy and affordable and simple. Here, basically, I'm using this Dollar Tree tray and these little skeleton hand toms, I think that's what they call them. And all I'm going to do is basically break these down to size. Now, I could have used my hot knife to cut this down, but I didn't feel like plugging it up, and I was racing for the time for the sun to stay up. So basically, I'm just scoring it with some seals and pretty much just wiggling back and forth until I break it, and it break in the perfect spot, actually. So I do both of them like that, and I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it silver with this metallic spray paint. And I spray painted the tray black with the matte black, and I'm just going to glue them down going opposite end of the tray. And this here is going to be a gorgeous, simple, affordable skeleton tray. All right, queens and kings, so here it is. This is how I have it displayed at this moment now on the table, on my coffee table, and Andre love it because it has candy in it. Of course he does. So moving on to the fifth DIY, if I'm not mistaken. Here I'm going to do this little skeleton cloche. Now, I took 5 of these skeletons that come in a bag at the Dollar Tree, of course, and I have an old candle holder. I think it was like 98 cents from Walmart, and then I have a Dollar Tree glass as well. Now, off camera, what you guys did not get to see me do was spray paint these silver with that metallic spray paint. And I'm putting some bling on them too, because it was a little too plain. But all I'm doing here is just lining my skeletons up, so therefore they can sit up in a row of 4. Pretty much 4, they're giving me the base to glue the candle stand on top of it. And then I will glue another skeleton on top of the glass, so they could give me the handling part, so that if I can have my little clutch, my little dome look. And like I said off camera, I'm just gonna place some diamonds into the skull eyes, as well as some bling around the rim of the glass. And that's gonna be it for this DIY here. All right, queens and kings, so this is it for my gorgeous skeleton clutch, or dome, you would like to call it. And I think it turned out. Now, I did use a crystal candle holder on the inside to hold my tea light candle holder, but as you all can see, I placed some bling in the eyes of each one of the skeletons. And I love the way how this turned out. All right, Queens and Kings, so moving on to the last final two DIYs, Bunny and Clyde. Yes, I came up with those names because Andre asked me for the name, so that's basically what I did. But anyway, I'm going to use the glue top for a hat for Clyde, and that is the black Rust-Oleum spray paint top. I'm using that for a hat, and I'm using these adhesive buttons and using those for eyes. I'm gonna glue some diamonds onto his little teeth and put some around the hat. So that's how we're gonna bling him out. Okay, so now moving on to Bunny. What we're gonna do with Bunny here, I'm gonna take some old earrings backs, and I'm basically gonna use my wire cutters to remove the backing off each one. I'm gonna use those for her eyes. And then I have this old ring, this bow ring, and I'm gonna use that to put a cute little bow on the side of her head. And that's gonna be it for Bunny. All right, Queens and Kings, so that is it for the last and final two beautiful DIYs. I hope you Queens and Kings actually love all 6 of them. If you do, leave your queen a comment down below. Let me know which one is your favorite. Do you guys think these was affordable enough that you all can make yourself? Because you don't have to have all the items that I do have, like the little bling eyes and stuff like that. You can find gemstones and all from Dollar Tree or whatever. But I hope you Queens and Kings enjoyed this video. If you all did, please like, comment, and subscribe.